How to financially never die. Avoiding bankruptcy, avoiding death, avoiding charge offs will help ginormously during this next period of time. I'm not going to label it a word for what the economy is right now because it turns out it doesn't matter. Because during the Great Depression or Great Recession or any kind of economic downturn, people just have a really good excuse for not doing well. So instead of calling whatever economic condition is afflicting your neck of the America, your neck of the woods, let's focus on us never dying financially, us never going bankrupt. So I'm going to bullet point a few of these things out so that way we can not necessarily bond and connect, but this way you've got a starting point that has no risk, a base camp that is slightly higher than you currently are. Or let's say you want to just solidify your condition because you're saying, wow, there's some weird stuff that's going on economically. How do I prepare and go into cockroach mode or default alive versus default dead? I just hinted at lots of water. Hydrate. I alluded to and referred to and cited two essays that I need to spell out specifically, which is Cockroach Mode, written by Paul Graham, and the same essay, Default Alive or Default Dead, where as a pre-entrepreneur, intrapreneur, even entrepreneur, are you default alive or are you default dead? Because this leads perfectly into my next point, which is small ball. During a boom economic time, you can afford to kick the can down the road of looking for return on investment. When you're playing small ball, you're trying to risk literally nothing to try to get something more than nothing. So small ball refers to baseball, where if you bunt the ball foul, well, that's just a strike. But if you bunt the ball fair, you get to first base. And so that trade-off of risking one strike to get a base hit is an incredibly great trade-off because you're winning at playing small ball. You're winning at money without having to risk anything because it's three strikes until you get a strikeout. Whereas if you're risking one strike for a base hit, that's a terrific trade-off. Economically, it applies to this next bullet point, which is going to a trade show or a conference and being cash flow positive. So in the baseball analogy of risking one strike of your three strikes for getting to first base, going to a conference and risking one strike, risking barely anything, and that is this. Preparing to win the trade show before the trade show begins. Beginning to win the trade show and setting an intention to win the trade show. In Jeffrey Moore's book on page 157, talks about crossing the chasm, assemble the invasion force. Most people, when they go to a math class or a MBA program or even a trade show, they show up without ever looking at the agenda. They don't scout and preview those things. PQRST, where you're previewing, hey, what am I to expect during Pest World or the user conference for some SaaS company or DRS CompuShare as a conference October 6 and 7. And so, do you read the agenda prior to the agenda taking place? That's preview. Question: oh, what should I pay attention to? Oh, what do I expect to learn? And then read, review, PQRST, is you're actually consuming the content. And so by the time you're consuming the content a first time, you are now avoiding bankruptcy by the second time you're consuming content is the first time that other people are experiencing it. S summary, T test. So to put it all together, you're going to math class and you're competing against people who are viewing it a first time, but this is your second or third time. And that's the avoiding bankruptcy, avoiding charge off, because you're like, hey, I've seen this movie before, Money Dying, and I can now win because I've read the book When Money Dies. And so this is the 6,000th time that money has died. This is the first in our lifetimes that money has died. This is PQRST. And so this is also avoiding bankruptcy by seeing how bankruptcy has taken place in the past. So just because there might be bankruptcy around us, that's okay, because we're not trying to make the entire world not bankrupt. We're just putting our own oxygen mask on first and not going bankrupt. We're just trying to not go bankrupt ourselves so that way we can be semi-cash flow positive. This is avoiding bankruptcy, and this is incredibly empowering because even the word bankruptcy, notice in my introduction I avoided use of that word because it's so emotionally charged and people don't even want to think about it. It's like talking about your own death. Whereas once you realize that you yourself will die, now you're empowered to actually take action in small risks. I'm not talking ginormous risks. I'm talking about, can you cold call somebody? Can you cold text somebody? Can you reach out to an author? Can you do something that's slightly out of your comfort zone? Maybe you can't, and that's not okay. Avoiding bankruptcy by playing small ball, and next bullet point, which is HTG, HFA, OTR. How to get home field advantage on the road. Let's say you're a UT football fan, or a Stanford baseball fan, or a Irv Grousbeck GSB Stanford Business School fan. You don't have to just gamble $5,000, $10,000, or $250,000. You can literally get home field advantage on the road using the hashtag that I will repeat, HTG, HFA, OTR. Hashtag HTG, HFA, OTR. You're getting home field advantage on the road. So in using the UT example, there's I almost said baseball game. There's a football game that occurs in Atlanta on January 20th, and it's the Football National Championship. And let's say you're a big University of Illinois fan, or you're a big Stanford University fan, okay? And you're not confident at all about your school going to the national championship for football. Well, you're probably not going to have the confidence to spend $1,000 for hotel accommodations and tickets to Allegiant Atlanta Stadium, whether it's Mercedes-Benz nomenclature, whatever the stadium now is named. It's going to be in Atlanta, January 20th. So basically you're front running because you're reading ahead. That was a water burp, by the way. Hydrate. And where you're planning on winning January 20th, no matter who ends up winning the football game the prior weekend, because you're running ahead of what everyone else will read, pay attention to, and react to. So by being ROI positive for a vacation, you're not gambling on what's going to happen. You're waiting for whomever wins. And you're not doing sports betting, you're squatting real estate. You're squatting plans that people will have to make in the future. And because they don't make those plans, last minute trip bookers end up having to pay extra. And so who are they going to pay? Well, airlines and hotels, and your Nobu hotel reservation, which right now costs less than $300. You can book. You can book. You can book. Look, Nobu. That's Nobu. Palo Alto. Cool, right? And so this goes right into the next bullet point, which is I'm not going to fund you millions of dollars, but I will give you $8 $5 bills as soon as you put pen to paper with saying, hey, how does the Epiphany Hotel apply to Nobu? How do I get and use my first hashtag, which are going to be these 3 hashtags? Your first page of notes, draw a triangle. On one triangle, lead generation, hashtag lead gen. On another part of the triangle, EUTWM PPM. And the last leg of the triangle, hashtag external API. This is what it should look like on a piece of paper. You're welcome. This is even a live action business case study, whatever you want to paste copy. In this example, it's 1,453. But let's just focus on you and your triangle, which is EUTWM PPM across the top, which is engineer up a tidal wave of momentum, perpetual promotion machine, cost $0. And then lead generation, and then external API. External API is where you are making the football national championship slightly better by promoting it on September 14 to January 20th. Sometime prior to January 20th, you are promoting January 20th as the football national championship. Ditto PES World, which is October 24 to 27. And then you're promoting Bitcoin Las Vegas May 26 to 28 between September 14 and May 26. So you're basically front running and pre-promoting using EUTWM PPM. 2 WordPress blog posts, 2 videos, Eventbrite event, Luma event, Twitter, Facebook posts, and also Instagram. So you're engineering up a tidal wave of momentum by writing a WordPress blog post that's 12 sentences, 2 pictures, and 1 focus. Super cool, right? Yeah.